forgot. If one may, if one is allowed, the speaker will not go over what we've talked during the last 3 gatherings here. I think it's necessary to go into the question of what is order, and why the mind, the brain, has not been able to function in an orderly way. Our education, whether in the West or in the East, North or South, is making human beings mediocre. I mean by that word, following a routine, fitting into a slot, whether it is administrative slot or a surgical slot or a lawyer or engineer. We're all being educated to conform to a pattern. Whether that pattern be highly paid, highly respected, or a pattern that may be socially convenient, profitable, and perhaps worthwhile. I do not know if you have not examined your own minds and your own activities, and whether you have not discovered for yourself, if one may be so presumptuous, whether your brain, and therefore your whole series of chain reactions, have not conformed, have not followed a pattern, have not become a machine of identification, conformity, imitation. Whether it be the religious, political, economic, social, and so on. I think it's very important to find out why we have become so neither excellent, I'm going to use that word excellent carefully, excellent, not in profession, not in a career. There are thousands of people, perhaps millions, throughout the world who are very, very efficient, who are earning a great deal of money. But we are talking about mediocrity of a brain that refuses to alter the pattern in which it is caught. The brain becomes dull. It hasn't got the rapidity of freedom in which it can see its own movement. I think most of us are frightened of freedom. Not that rebellion that takes place against the establishment, that's only a reaction which pushes you in the opposite direction, permissiveness, drugs, and all that business. We are afraid to be radically, deeply free of mediocrity. We want to be very safe. Both outwardly and inwardly. And this search for certainty is, if one may point out, is a form of mediocrity. Wanting to be successful as a painter, as an artist, as a lawyer, as an engineer, and so on. And excellence is not achieved through competition. Excellence in aesthetic, in the appreciation and the perception of that which is beautiful. Excellence in morality. Morality in the sense of conduct, behavior, a sense of dignity, of which freedom brings. And when one looks at the world, as you must, not the little world around oneself, the office, the factory, the family, the happenings of the politicians and so on, but the human world, the world in which human beings are suffering, the world in which almost everyone is in a great sense of anxiety, sorrow, pain, which has nothing to do with any kind of career or religious belief. It actually is going on in the world. When one regards all that, why has the brain, which has been capable of such extraordinary activity in the technological world, as regards the computer and the robot, why the brain has become sluggish? Why, though it's capable of action in a certain direction, it's incapable of perceiving the whole structure and the nature of man and acting from that? It is, one would call, a mediocre person who is incapable of such perception. And ask why the brain, in one direction, the technological world, which is so extraordinarily advancing, of which we know very little, like the computer. It can do almost anything that human being can. Write poems, paint pictures, any question that human problem has, any problem the human has can be answered through the computer. The computer is going to take over our brain. I don't know if you're aware of all these facts. The robot and the computer are going to manage factories, all the manual labor, and so on, so on, so on. And so, if one is not aware of all this, our brains are going to become more and more sluggish, because there will be no physical problems, technological problems. But there will be psychological problems. Even that perhaps the computer will take over. Because we'll be just human beings without any occupation, empty, sluggish. You understand? This is coming, perhaps within the next 15, 20 years. And then, what does education mean? You following all this? Then what is a human being who is deprived or machines taken over? Then what is the quality of your brain then? You're following what I'm... And why is it that we live in such a disorderly life? We live in disorder. That there's no question. Is the brain itself in a state of disorder? That is our consciousness in disorder? Consciousness, human consciousness, is its content, right? The content of human consciousness is its beliefs, its educated conditioning, which is called information knowledge, to live in a world where the skill is necessary, where knowledge is necessary in the outer world to earn a livelihood. A content of our consciousness is anxiety, jealousy, aggressiveness, ambition in different forms, and the pursuit of pleasure, fear, and the vast weight of sorrow. That's our consciousness. All our superstitions, the gods that we have created, in that consciousness there's constant movement. I don't know if please, let's begin again. We are talking over together. That you and the speaker are together investigating the nature of order and the nature of disorder. Why we human beings, after so many millennia, live such an extraordinarily disordered life. There is no sense of total harmony of a human being. The harmony that both physical and psychological and intellectual, a sense of wholeness, a sense of comprehensive outlook on life. In inquiring into what is order and disorder, we must first inquire whether thought can ever bring about order. Please meet me halfway at least. Has thought created disorder? In our lives? Is thinking itself disorder? In a country like this part of the world, there is extraordinary disorder. Politically, religiously, in every direction there is disorder. Thing is coming to pieces, disintegrating. And we're all trying to solve the problem of this disorder, this part of the world, either through political means or military means, or go back to tradition, where you accept authority, follow certain rules, be disciplined, and so on. Now, can the politicians, the economists, the business people can solve this problem of disorder? Or one must ask this question whether thought which is being exercised as the intellect, which wants the order, you follow? Everybody wants order in their own life, in their house, in their environment. One wants everything to run properly. And we are exercising thought as a means to bring about order. I'm sure you're aware of this. Perhaps you're not aware of it. You probably have never put this question to yourself, which is whether thought, that is thinking, which is the operation of the intellect, reason, logic, discernment, and all that's part of the intellect, whether the exercise of that intellect with its thought is going to bring order in the world, in the human relationship. You follow my... And we're asking, what is the cause of this disorder? First, before we begin to inquire into what is order, what is the deep-rooted cause of this disorder? Not only outwardly, but in our relationship with each other. Not only in our action, but in the very structure of our consciousness. What is the root of it? Are you interested in all this? not a passing interest, not a weekend interest, but a demand, a deep challenge to yourself why human beings live so disorderly in their action, in their primarily in their relationship. And seeing this disorder, if you are a religious person, religious in the ordinary sense of that word, you escape from that disorder into some fanciful godly worship or ungodly worship. Go off to some temple, shave your head. You know what's happening in this country. And also in the other parts of the world. We're trying to find out the root of this disorder in consciousness, in action, and in our relationship with each other. We're trying to find out the root of it. Not trim the branches of disorder, but go into it so that the very exploration brings its own understanding and therefore its clarity. That is the purpose or the intention of exploring, investigating. In the very movement of investigation, clarity comes, and that clarity clears disorder. Which means you cannot investigate intellectually, verbally, but investigate with one's life, the life that one leads. And for that you need energy. And that energy is dissipated if you are escaping from the question, which is why human beings throughout the world live in such chaotic disorder. And if you are serious, and I hope we are, I mean, one means by seriousness being committed to the investigation, giving your energy, your interest, your observation, your skepticism, your vitality to find out. So we have to ask, is all this confusion, disorder, conformity, imitation, which is part of disorder, and the disorder called in our relationship, is all that based on thinking? Is thought responsible for this disorder? And if it is responsible for this disorder, then what is the relationship of thought to our daily life? You are following all this? It's no good looking at me. You have to look into yourself. The speaker is only a mirror in which you are looking. And when you have looked very carefully, you can destroy the mirror. Otherwise the mirror becomes the authority. As we said, thought, the very whole process of thinking, is the result of knowledge, experience, knowledge, memory, and action. So thought is always limited. That one has to see it completely, not just verbally. That thought, whatever it does, either in the technological world or in the investigative process of skeptical exploration, which is essentially the action of religion. For that you need energy, vitality. And if thought is the origin of this disorder, we're not saying it is, we're going to find out. And as thought is limited, right? Because thought is born of experience, and knowledge can never be complete, never. And from that knowledge, memory, thought, which is the movement of time, I won't go into it for the moment, we'll come back to it later. Therefore it is basically, in its very nature, limited. Right? Is this, can we meet this? See the logic of it, the reality of it, the actuality of it. So thought must create disorder. Thought itself is disorder. Whatever its action. We'll come to find out whether there is an order which is not brought about by thought. But first we must understand the movement of thought in relation to order and disorder. Right, sirs? May we go on? But one must be absolutely clear, not verbally, intellectually, but actually, that thought brings about, by its very nature, conflict and therefore disorder. Disorder in action, because action is based on thought, which is the result of knowledge, experience. And knowledge and experience can never be complete. You may have 1,000 experiences, must always be incomplete. And therefore knowledge must be incomplete. And thought with its action must create disorder. That is the basis of what we are investigating. If that is not clear, let's explore it together so that you are absolutely clear. That thought in it, whatever it does, except in the technological world and so on, thought has created the most beautiful architecture, great poems, marvelous engineering, beautiful bridges, great music. Astonishing statues, And thought has also created the great images in the temples, in the cathedrals, the idol worship. All that is responsible for thought. Though the priests say, no, it is divine revelation and all, it's still within the area of thought. So let us first examine why thought has created disorder in our relationship. Relationship, whether it's intimate or not. Before we're going to investigate into our relationship, we must first understand the nature of desire. Right? Is it getting too complicated? You see, sirs, ladies, we are not used to this kind of inquiry. We are used to be talked at, lectured at, made, help you to think what to think, but not how to think. We're all trained in what to think. Like a good lawyer, like a good engineer, you know. But we never say, inquire how the brain works. Ourselves, not according to some specialist, watching our own brain, its own reactions, its chemical responses, and so on and so on. So we are going first to examine the whole movement of desire. Because we live by desire. Desire is part of our life. And when we are inquiring into it, we must not say it's right or wrong. Like many priests, like many sannyasis, like many monks, they suppress it. Or the desire is urged in a particular direction where they worship Jesus Christ. We follow all that, identify with something greater. We're not doing that. We are examining the whole movement of desire and what is its relationship to thought and the action that must inevitably follow. You understand all this? Examining desire, the relationship of desire to thought and action. This may be one of the causes of disorder. So the mind, we are inquiring freely into it, not taking, say it's right or wrong, it must be suppressed, you must escape from it, you must transcend and go beyond desire and all that nonsense. Because they have never examined desire deeply and gone into it. What is desire? How does desire arise? And what gives it impulse? impetus, vitality, drive. Must I explain all this? Avanti, let's go. Please, we are observing desire. The speaker is only describing it. The description is not the actual. The explanation is not what is going on. So please, let's be very clear from the beginning that the word is not the thing. Right? The word tree, the word is not the actual tree. But for most of us, the word is more important than the word symbol is more important than the actuality. So we must be free of the word to look. You following this? We are examining what is desire and why man has been driven by this constant desire to fulfill, to become, to achieve. This tremendous energy behind it. A man who wishes to climb the Everest, tremendous energy is required. The desire behind it. Going through every kind of difficulty, pain, but to achieve. And is desire or rather, is illumination, is the understanding of what is truth, a matter of desire. We'll go into that presently. You are interested in all this? Not interested, I don't care. It's up to you. Desire comes through perception, seeing, contact, sensation. Right? Seeing a tree, touching it, and having sensation, or seeing a woman, man, seeing, touching, contact, sensation. This is the normal process. Then, if you see a shirt in the window, or a robe, or a car, you see it, touch it, sensation. Then thought creates the image of you sitting in the car and driving it. Right? See the car, touch it, the sensation, the beauty, the lines, not the Indian car, sorry. The lines of it, and so on. And thought creates the image of you sitting in the car, driving it. You follow? Which is what? Thought has created the image, you in the car and driving it. When thought creates the image, then there is the beginning of desire. You got it? This is logical. You don't have to accept what I'm saying, it is so. if you examine it closely. Seeing, contact, sensation, thought creating the image, you in that shirt or you in that dress or you in that sari or whatever it is, and wanting to possess it, and so on, so on. Seeing, contact, sensation is there a possibility, please listen to this, is there a possibility of thought not creating the image? You follow? The moment when thought creates the image, then desire begins. Right? So one begins to discover thought when it is created image with regard to the sensation, desire is born. So thought plus sensation, desire. I wonder if you see this. So you see, if one understands this very clearly, desire then becomes not so intensely powerful. Because thought sees all the possibilities of pain, achievement. You follow? You don't. I'll explain. Why is there conflict with regard to, why desire brings conflict? Right? Why? As we said, desire begins when thought creates the image. You sit in the car, that building an image by thought is the beginning of desire. If that is clearly seen as an actuality, that's what is happening in all of us, then desire brings about conflict, because it's in the fulfillment of that desire, time is involved, right? Time. And during that time, other incidents take place. So there must be contradictions, wanting, not wanting, or all the rest of it follows. I'll make it much simpler. Why is there conflict between you, your husband, your wife, your neighbor? You follow? Why? In that relationship, thought plays a great part. Right? Thought. Both sexually and in other ways. I won't go into all the details of it because it's very simple. Thought plays a great part in our intimate relationship. Thought creates the image of the man or the woman, and the relationship is between these two images. Are you following all this? Or you're all asleep? What? So, actual relationship doesn't exist. It exists between these two images which thought has created. So thought may be responsible for the conflict. I wonder if you see all this. So is it possible not to create the image? You that is seeing, contact, sensation, car, the image you have built, saying, you sitting in that car, putting your hands on the steering wheel and driving off. It's the same thing as in our personal relationship, which is the image you have built about her or him. It may take 1 minute to create that image. Or you have accumulated a series of images. And she also has created a series of images. So, thought is the origin of conflict. I wonder if you see this. Right? At least few of us. Let's go together. Then the problem arises. How is one to put an end to this movement of creating images all the time? You follow? Is that at all possible? Because we live by images. The images of the past, the remembrance of incidents, the pleasant, unpleasant, all the rest of it. This is our life. And if thought is the origin of this disorder in our relationship, then what place has thought at all? You understand? I wonder if you understand what I'm talking about. See? You see this. You see very clearly, at least verbally, intellectually, that thought begins all the mess in our relationship. Then the question that arises, how am I to stop thought? Which is a totally wrong question. I wonder if you see that. Because you who want to stop thought, you are created by thought. I wonder if you see, right? So, thought has divided itself as the controller and the controlled. Then you ask the question, how am I to control thought? So we are saying that's a wrong question. That question indicates that you haven't grasped the whole movement of thought. That thought has broken itself up as the thinker and the thought, the controller and the control. So, do we realize this fact that the controller is the controlled? Huh? So what takes place? You understand my question? I see very clearly, if one sees it, I see very clearly that thought is the root of this disorder. Because thought in itself is utterly limited. It can imagine it's limitless, but in fact it's limited. It can conceive theoretically what is time, what's beyond time, God, all that, but it has no value. What has value is our daily life. So, the question when you say, how am I to stop thought, is a wrong question, because thought is the controller and the controlled, right? Does one see this obvious fact? Or you make an abstraction of it as an idea and say, how am I to carry out that idea? Which means you haven't grasped the full significance of this fact. Right? When you make an abstraction, you are dealing with non-fact. What is fact is the conflict which thought has created, the disorder. So can you, do you actually perceive that the thinker is the root of this? You have created the image between you and your wife, husband, and so on. And that image is not actual. It's a material structure created by thought which acts as a barrier. And therefore, there was no love. Thought is not love. We'll go into that sometime. So the question is, does your mind, your brain, actually perceive the fact that thought is responsible for our confusion, disorder? When you perceive the fact, what takes place? That's what I want to get at. Let's move from there. You understand? When you see danger, physical danger, there is instant action. Unless you're neurotic or drugged or drunk or whatever it is. If you see something dangerous, there is immediate response. Now, why does your brain not see the danger that thought creates disorder? The danger of disorder. You're following what? Why? There, your brain is tremendously active. When you see a danger, the adrenaline, the whole blood rate, everything responses. There, your life is threatened. Here also your life is threatened, which is living in disorder is a great threat, great danger to human beings. Why doesn't the brain equally see it instantly, the danger of this, as it sees the other? You follow my question? Why? Come on, sirs. Why do we not see to live in disorder is the greatest danger? Is it because we are used to disorder? Please don't accept what the speaker is saying. We are accustomed to disorder. We put up with disorder. We have the energy to create all. Which all means what? Please go into your brain, look at it, please. Laziness, indifference, lack of aesthetic appreciation of that which is beautiful. Is it the brain, having accepted disorder, disregards it, is indifferent to it, and so therefore, what happens to the brain that has created disorder, thought which has created disorder, and accepts it? What happens to the brain? Come on, sirs. It becomes naturally very dull. When you accept anything, it must be, right? When you accept your relationship with another, which is essentially conflict, when you accept it, you have accepted something which is disorderly, unaesthetic, immoral. So what happens? Your life becomes mediocre, dull, and sit there and just listen to some rubbish. So, listening to all this, is there order now in your life? Not tomorrow, immediately. Because you see the danger. I wonder if you see this. You understand what I mean? You act instantly to this danger, physical danger. And here you don't act because, for various reasons. A brain that's awake, alert, sees the danger, disorder, which means what? The brain, with its thought, has created this disorder. So the brain sees the danger of it, and the brain acts because it must have security, safety. You understand all this? Now, is your brain active in that sense, which is never accepting anything, therefore questioning, asking, looking? So, if thought brings disorder in life, then what is then what is order? Can there be order without the movement of thought? Please, sir, this is a real meditation, you understand? We are meditating now. When we are inquiring into order and disorder, your whole brain is active. There's no sluggish part in it. That means your whole brain is alert, not caught in a particular groove. If order is not discipline, right? If order is not conformity, imitation, suppression, following a particular system, right? Then what is order which is not put together by thought? You are following all this? Please, just to follow it. We have talked, just give 5-10 minutes more and you can go home. What is order which is not put together by thought? See the beauty of the question first serves. You understand? Is there such order? The universe, the heavens, the stars, sunrise and sunset, that is in total order. Nature is in total order. That's nature, which is the hills, the rivers, birds, tigers, nature, the trees, that is in total order. It's only when man interferes with it, there is disorder. We're asking, is there order which thought has never touched? You understand? Because when thought touches anything, it creates disorder. What is that order? Come on, sir, join me. In listening for an hour, are you learning? Or remembering what is said? You understand my question? Are you learning, or you've gathered some information which has become knowledge, and you say that knowledge will act? Which is one process. Or listening, you are learning. Right? Right, sir? So what have you found something in that? Come on, sir. That where there is learning, there is order. Do you understand this? No? Now look, sir, I'll my turn. Can you go on with me for a while? To us, learning is the accumulation of information and knowledge. Right? That's what you're, from school, college, university, if you're lucky to go through all that, is accumulating knowledge so as to live, so as to acquire a job, act skillfully. That's the whole idea. There, you are accumulating knowledge. Layer after layer after layer. If you are an engineer, spend year. If you are a doctor, 10 years. Practice, so on. All that demands time. So knowledge is time. Right? Now, is there a learning without time? You're following all this? Sir, please, sir. See the difference. First, see the difference. We take time to learn a language, mathematics, biology, go to various universities, and so on, so on. So you acquire a great deal of knowledge. Spend years through books, through listening, through experiment, science laboratories, and all the rest of it. Gather a great deal of knowledge. And having acquired, you act or expand in that knowledge. Getting more knowledge, more challenges, and responding according to your knowledge. Right? That's going on. Now, all that requires a great deal of time. Is there a learning? Please find out in which there is no time, which means immediate perception. I wonder if you see this. You understand? To see instantly the truth of this, which doesn't require time. Oh my Lord. Look, sir, let's look at it carefully. The brain is accustomed to this, to the time factor. I've listened to you. I may agree or disagree. If I agree, then how am I to put that into action? I must study. I must learn more about this. I must hear you half a dozen times, or you read your books, and so on, till I completely understand, then I will act. All that is a movement in time, which is part of our life. That you see that very clearly. That's every schoolboy does this, so it's very common. Now we're asking something totally different, which is, there is a learning, not accumulation. There is a learning through immediate perception and action. I'll show you in a minute. Follow it. When you see danger, physical danger, there is immediate reaction. Because from childhood, from all ages, through the ages, when you see a precipice, danger, you are conditioned to that. And you act instantly. Learning and acting through knowledge. Knowledge, learn, knowledge, act. Our brains are used to that. So completely mechanical. It has become. So anything new says, I don't understand. Explain to me, talk to me, show me. I read about it. I must be convinced. You may, what you say may be not true. I must go to the scientist, the neurologist, blah, blah, all the rest of it. Which means what? Again, the same process, time. So the brain has become used to time. And they are inventing. Scientists are inventing to learn a language in a few hours. Breaking time. You understand? So what the speaker is saying is, there is a learning or acting without the whole movement of time, which is to see, to perceive, to see. When you see, you act. Wait, I'll show you. I realize I'm greedy. Suppose I'm greedy. I see it. And I act instantly. I don't take time over it. Say, why shouldn't I be greedy? Is it right to be not greedy? All that. Human beings are violent. We can go into the cause of it. Going into the cause of it is a waste of time. You will discover many causes according to many opinions, and you are stuck. Or you invent non-violence and you pursue that idiotic ideal. When you are really violent, it's hypocrisy to follow. So, when you see that your mind is violent, your brain, your reaction, to see it instantly and end it instantly. You understand what I mean? Which is to learn to act instantly, which is not of time. I wonder if you get this. Do you get some of this? Do it. When you are violent, be aware that you are violent and end it immediately, which is perception, action, movement, moving away from what was. I wonder if you see this. So that your brain is tremendously active. Not stimulated by the speaker as you are being now, but stimulated by your very perception. And when you do this, you'll have such tremendous energy. Not to do mischief. Energy of clarity. So, we have talked about mediocrity. We've talked about order and disorder. When you get up from here, have you understood the nature of order? So that your life is totally in order. Which means totally in order in your relationship. No image between you and another. And when there is that extraordinary sense of freedom, in that there is love. And without that, life is empty. So please give your thought, give your attention to all this, because it's your own life.